Portugal, and we are going to be going through the home buying process. My name is Claudia de Silva. I'm an agent with Coldwell Banker, and I have a wonderful guest today, the expert in Lisbon and surrounding areas, Lucia Fragoso with Coldwell Banker. Lucia, you want to say hi to everybody?
Hi. So I'm here from Lisbon, and yes, ready to start.
Good. So you are here today because you registered for this webinar. I need to tell you, please, if you have to leave, don't worry. If you are late and you missed some information, don't worry. We are going to be sending everyone a replay. You are going to receive, either you attend or not, a replay in your inbox. So please don't get concerned if you miss a little bit of this information, or if you had some questions and you didn't get to ask them. We're still going to have time for that when we send the replay. We are here for you. This is just the first step on what I hope to be a long and productive relationship of helping you understanding and perhaps buying a home in Portugal. So welcome. Portugal home buying process from A to Z. Lucia is in Lisbon, I am in Houston, Texas, and we are both agents with Coldwell Banker. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit more about myself, and then I'm going to ask Lucia to tell a little bit more about our experience and what, a little bit of background. So the first thing that you need to do, either you're buying a home anywhere in the world really, is to connect with an experienced agent. You probably got here today either because you saw this information through Lucia Fragoso or myself. You're probably aware, or you have attended some of my previous webinars, and you are probably aware that I sell properties internationally. As a matter of fact, we have quite a lot of properties in common, Lucia and myself. We're going to be listing this week here in the North American market. Our intention is to bring properties that qualify for a lot of the golden visa requirements actually, and otherwise, but to bring it to the North American market and share with you guys really good opportunities of you purchasing a property. And I also help a lot of clients that have homes in Portugal and want to sell them. We just finished we just ended a transaction where we helped someone that lives in Texas, has a home in Porto, and we sold it together with my team in Portugal. So if you have any questions about the overall process, how can you list a home here in the US? How can you sell a home in Portugal from the US? I am all ears and happy to assist you. I am a certified international property specialist. I've been doing this for over 6 years. I am Portuguese. I speak the language. I know the culture. I also speak English and Spanish. And from here, Houston, we are a hub. So we get to connect with a lot of cultures around the world. And Lucia, do you want to tell everybody a little bit of your experience in real estate otherwise?
Yes, so I live in Lisbon. I work in Lisbon mainly, also around Lisbon and districts around Lisbon. I love this city and I love this country, and I love even more these people. So it's a pleasure to work. I've been working with Portuguese clients, but also very much with international clients, and both in United States and Canada. So I'm used to work online because some of them are not able to travel yet, and we are doing just that.
Fantastic. Thank you, Lucia. So the first things we wanted to share with you guys, the first things that are important to be aware is that connecting with your local agent and your CIPS expert agent, it's very important because they are knowledgeable. The CIPS, such as myself and Lucia very soon, we have the knowledge about different markets. We got to undertake a lot of education and make sure that we were exposed to understand the different nuances of buying and selling in different countries. And Lucia is your local agent in the place you're going to buy. So whenever you have questions about that particular location, you need to have a reliable source that knows the area, understands the process, knows about pricing, can advise you and has a network as well, of course, knowing the language and the culture. Not just the language and the Portuguese culture, but your culture as well. Lucia was just telling me that she visited many times before. She deals with a lot of Americans already, North Americans. So she's familiar with the language and with the culture as well. We do have the experience. It's not the first time that we're going to help someone buying or selling abroad. And Lucia, that's pretty much where her focus have been. And one of the things I wanted to share with you guys, that is a question I get all the time, is Portuguese agents, and actually in a lot of other countries, not just in Portugal, they don't really need to be licensed. So when you are dealing with someone that is local, you should really go with an agent that works for a renowned brokerage, so you know that they're getting the right tools and resources. They're getting their own certifications inside the brokerage, because we don't have a national requirement in Portugal. And the last thing I wanted to share with you guys is the same as probably you are used to here in the US. When you go purchase a home or you sell a home, you always sign a sales representation or a buyer representation. In Portugal should be no different. And something that Lucy brought to my attention and that I really need to share with you guys, and she's going to emphasize that, is, you know, you really need to have that one person, not only that knows the area and everything involving in the real estate, they need to know how to navigate the process. And by understanding your needs, you're going to reach that goal faster. You're going to be able to purchase the property you're looking for. And sometimes you're going to be purchasing a property you didn't even think about it in a different area, and through a conversation with Lucia, maybe you're going to end up somewhere else you thought originally. That's why you're going to go with an expert. And Lucy, what was the other thing that people should know when they work with the one agent? What is important that they do?
So in terms of not contacting directly, yes, it's important. I work with some clients that I find the properties for them. Sometimes they also find something they like. And in that case, they should always send that link to me so that I can contact the agent with the listing. If you contact the agent directly, then I lose the opportunity to work with you, because they will register you as a client and they will say, okay, I have the contact, he's my client, is not, you don't need to be present in this business. And then I can't work with the client. So it's no problem. Usually clients understand that very well, and they forward the links directly to me. We work like that. We have a system, and it's very easy. It's just to explain that this is important to have in mind, so that we can, check all these properties with the correct agents, and see also the history on our MLS that we have in Coldwell Banker.
Absolutely. And another thing that I need to add to that, the most important reason why we are asking you to do that is you're establishing a relationship. So it's like, exclusive dating, right? It's one client, one agent. You are not going with multiple agents, and you're not having that agent going with you and the seller and everybody else, because you got to make sure. It's like when you go to court. When you go to court, you're going to bring your own lawyer. It's the exact same thing. You should always be represented. It's the same in the United States, and it should be the same in Portugal. This is one of the reasons why we're here today. I wanted to introduce you to a local expert, so whenever you need to start a process, you already have that contact, that reference. And if you want someone that's going to cover a different area than Lucia does, we can also assist you. We have different contacts in different areas of the country, including the islands. Today, we're going to focus only on the mainland, but we certainly can help you if you're moving to the islands as well. So we are here today because either your CIPS and your local agent can help you make your real estate journey to Portugal easier and efficiently. We have the understanding of the areas. particular, Lucia, that focus mainly on Lisboa, Cascais, Estoril, that's all the Lisbon area, Santarém, Setúbal, and Leiria, that is pretty much Portugal center. That is the area she's working in the most. However, we do have information about any other areas in Portugal. And of course, the most important thing that we need to do is start with the consultation, where we are going to define what your goals are. Today, you are doing a follow-up perhaps from a previous webinar. We started by why move to Portugal. Lucy and I have done that one. We have had about 3,000 views right now. Then we had a webinar about Golden Visa, explaining what that was. If you would like a replay, please reach out. And today we are, how do you buy a home? How do you really get started? But before you even dive into it, you need to define where, what's there, what kind of lifestyle, what kind of approach. Don't you agree, Lucia?
Yes. And that is very important, because it's not only the technical side of the property, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms, we've talked about that, but also very much how do you feel, where do you want to feel, what kind of city, or maybe a village, or what would you like to see when you open your window. These are important information that sometimes clients share with us, and I've been learning and also have this conversation with the clients to understand exactly what they are looking for, what will make them happy, because the house we can find in one street or the other, but the neighborhood, the people that we see on the streets, the shops, everything makes the experience even more pleasant. So I think that is also very important, to combine the emotional side of buying a home with the technical part, that understanding the markets, the properties, and helping clients to then present a search that is meaningful to them and that we can find. And I think that is a very rewarding experience, that we can find a home that they are very, very happy with what they found, and then with what they are going to buy.
Absolutely. And when you establish that partnership, starting with the consultation, now more than ever, but you always have been doing that, but now more than ever, you are actually sending properties to the clients that meet their criteria. They can, kind of do a little bit of a selection, and you are actually previewing that homes. You are doing virtual showings a lot lately.
Yes. It's very common nowadays. It works very well, and it's a work that is becoming normal, I have to say. But it works. At the moment, we are not able to. Some American clients, North American clients, are not able to travel to Portugal yet. So we've been doing that. Seeing the online the houses through online visits. And we are always moving forward, because we can understand better what they are looking for, and we can have a selection of properties that make sense for them. So it's a new way of work, but it works well, and as we can see then later on, we can do it both virtually, everything, or combine, and it works well.
Fantastic. And to emphasize what we're doing here today, getting you the information, connecting you with the experts, and really providing you a streamlined highlights of the whole process, but also really explaining how important it is to have a partnership with your agent here in the US, but more so in Portugal. An agent that has the expertise in certain areas, that can set up an appointments for you. We're going to address that in a moment, but things are different in Portugal. It's just the way it is. Scheduling a property is not 1, 2, 3 like it can be in North America. The way that we get information about a property in Portugal is not 1, 2, 3 like in North America. Their systems are not centralized. Lucia has an amazing advantage. She works with Coldwell Banker, that has one of the best local MLSs for their agents, because there's not really what we call a national multiple listing services. That would be where you can find all of the homes. They don't have a Zillow or a Trulia. So you need to know with who you are partnering yourself with, so they can do the most of work for you, starting with you being miles away. So I think Lucia can back me up on this. These are the majority of the clients we work with. I also mentioned we work with sellers. So I do have clients that reside in the US and they want to sell their properties in Portugal. But the majority of the clients that we do have that are going into Portugal, that purchase homes in Portugal, are people that are either retiring in the future or retired right now. And you know what? I can't blame them, because if I was going to retire, I probably would go to Portugal too. So second homes, this is actually something that Lucia works with a lot, myself particularly. What we do is we market a lot of the Portuguese properties to North American market as a second home, and for different reasons. They can be Portuguese, have Portuguese heritage, and they want to buy a second home so they can rekindle with their Portuguese heritage, bring their kids to Portugal, or they are North Americans and they want to start experiencing more of Portugal. Sometimes they want to invest in a second home that they can use half of the time and then have it as an income rental property. And some of them want to really apply for that golden visa. So after so many years of owning their property, they can apply for, that permanent residency. So it's different things there that we are accustomed to see. Right, Lucia? What else do you get a lot?
Yes, it's true. I have a little bit of everything that you have here. Mainly now, surprisingly, I've been receiving clients from North America that are moving here, and some of them don't even know the country, so they have never been here before, which is an adventure. But it's happening. And I also have some other clients who will be moving here in the future, but they are at the moment buying, and they will rent for some years, and when they are ready to move, they will probably stay on that house, or they will sell it and they'll buy another one. But they are taking this time now to invest here, have an income from a rental, as you said, and then maybe in a few years they will move to Portugal to live here.
Absolutely. And the reality of things is that real estate is getting more and more expensive everywhere, globally. And to purchase property in an European country that has amazing school system, amazing medical quality service to residents and non-residents as well. That's very important for you to know. As well as safety, the climate, the food, all of the things that it offers, and still get real estate for the amount that the Portuguese market offers is like almost unheard of. So if you were to compare with other European countries, you're really definitely getting a lot for your money. Mm-hmm. So as you can see here, Portugal is a cute little country with so much history, so rich in culture. All of the 18 districts are very different from one another. Although they are neighbors, they are very different. I dare to say that even the language sometimes is very different. So be prepared for that. Now the Portuguese accents, the culture, the food that they eat, from the coast to the interior is very different. And that also reflects on the pricing. It's a country that is small by nature, but very accessible. It's neighboring with Spain. You can get in and out easily from major airports. We have Porto, Faro, and Lisbon. They are the major airports, but we have more. You can go in and out with a train. Let's forget about COVID for a second. You can drive in and out of the country, and you can also take a boat. Hey, maybe you just want to cross the Atlantic Ocean and go from the US all the way to Portugal. It's possible. It has been done. So what did we decide to do here? We wanted to give you an idea based on the coast. Normally, this is where the majority of the people are purchasing properties, and I think Lucia can confirm that for many reasons. They tend to be more desirable before its proximity to the water, but also employment, as Lucia probably can explain. And so the majority of the people buying on the coast are definitely buying apartments. It's more of an apartment market. all sorts of apartments of all sizes. So we decided to just run some numbers for you. Lucia so kindly has done this for us, run some numbers for us. We decided to not do primary residential homes because the prices and everything else could be very different. But Lucia, explain a little bit about this pricing here that we are showing on condos.
So this is, as you mentioned, an analysis that we've done. It's between February and May from this MLS that we use. And also to have an analysis that it's based on something that is similar. So we didn't want to mix here residential homes and apartments. So it's just apartments. So to give you an idea of the prices. And so we consider 3 or more bedroom apartments, turnkey. And then we have the prices for the coast, where Claudia explained that it's a combination of factors because it's close to the sea, and then we have also more employment. We also have tourism. So traditionally, we have more people on the coastline, and we have prices are also more expensive. Here we have this, we are only focused here on mainland, so we are not including here the islands. But you can see on coastline, Lisbon, for instance, the capital city of Portugal, for a 3-bedroom, it's almost 500,000 euros. And then we have all cities. Porto is the second city in Portugal, Faro in the Algarve, very well known for the seaside, and Setúbal, which very close by to Lisbon. And then the other ones are cities who also have people, not as much as the coastline, but you can see that the prices, the higher that we have here on the interior, is 147,000, so much less, and even Guarda much less compared to Lisbon or Setúbal. So there is a very big difference in prices when you compare interior and coast. But of course, not everyone wants to stay on the coastline. So from here you can see, the differences between within the country. That's why we are also here to help you decide what makes sense for you. If it's the coastline, if maybe you don't need. And as Claudia also mentioned before in other shows that we've done together, Portugal is very rich in diversity, but in terms of distance, we can go very fast from Lisbon to the north or from Lisbon to Algarve. So maybe for some clients, you really don't need to stay in the major cities. You can stay 1 hour away, and you are already in the middle of the country, as to say.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we wanted to illustrate to you guys. So that initial consultation with your real estate expert is really important, because we're going to be able to help you define what are you looking for. Are you going to be moving to Portugal permanently? Are you looking for a rental income property? Are you going to be using it half of the year, or maybe not? If you use it half of the year, it's going to have a few things very different than if you never use it. So we really need to know, what are you looking to do? If you decide to go with a property by the coast, this is what you need to know. These are pictures of Faro, Lisboa, Porto. We also have here some outside of Lisboa itself, but still within the same district. So this is what a coastline city is, but in the countryside, it's a whole nother world. I love Alentejo. I love the south, the interior, north and south of Portugal. You have more, you get more for your money. Right? You can easily get to the coast and go swimming. You do not need to be with all of the tourists. If you're looking to retire in Portugal, maybe this is something you need to consider. You get more for your money. You can buy 2-3 properties. You can have income property and a primary residence. That's why we're here to help you. And look how beautiful that landscape is. Mm-hmm. Just gorgeous. And this one too, I must say. So expectations. Before we get started talking about the technical part of it, we need to set some expectations, because we want you to be successful in purchasing a home in Portugal, to have the least amount of headaches and to have the most amount possible of smiles. We want you to have an easy, a smooth transaction, to be very happy and send us all your friends and family. That's what we want to do here. And so in order to proceed, we need to address the things that are just different. That's all there is. And I actually think that those differences are the reasons that you're perhaps wanting to buy a house in Portugal, right? So let's see what they are. Lucia, do you want to talk a little bit about managing expectations?
Yes, so I think the first approach to Portugal is to understand that we live in a different concept of time. So people like to sit down and have their coffee, and at the same time, if they are at the bank or somewhere else waiting in line, maybe they are patiently waiting, and that is how we live. It's like we enjoy life and having a coffee, but we also sometimes are a little slower when taking care of papers or some other things. It's just the way we are, but I think it's, in a way, it's very healthy, it's very relaxed. So nothing, we try not to be very stressful. And I think it's very helpful when you understand that concept of time of Portugal, and you see it in a way that you can start understanding the way we deal with things and the way we behave, and then some other things that you probably will discover when you are here. But I think that is already a big help to understand that different concept of time, and how people are have this calm and way of living.
Absolutely. So you guys, things are just different. They are a little bit slower paced, and I think coming from North America, I experienced it for myself. Sometimes it takes me a few days to really get in the Portuguese groove when I go visit, because everything is like, oh, later, no, calm down, relax. And that's something that Portuguese tend to say all the time. Just relax, just relax. And you know, it just really gives you that idea. But that also reflects in the professional world, and that's what we're here for. So in a professional manner, things are just done differently. They are in a slower pace. And this idea of having this webinar here today, to be very fair, came from some of the attendees from previous webinars expressed some frustration is the word, towards the process of purchasing a home, that there was not really a guideline on how to buy a home. That's why we created it. Lucy and I put it together so you have a guideline to have an understanding of the overall process. Of course, understand that it's not black and white. Some things are going to be different here and there, but this is the overall process. Things take time. It's good to understand that when you're moving to Portugal, houses are just going to look differently. As a matter of fact, Lisbon is the second oldest city in the world next to Rome. So imagine buying a home in Lisbon. The homes are going to be automatically different. And no, they were not built to have 2 bathrooms. And I know myself, I probably couldn't live in a home without having 2 bathrooms. But the reality is, I grew up in a household that didn't have that, and I never thought anything of it. So it's just, what are we looking for? And Lucia, your local expert, is going to be able to navigate and explain how architecture also works and what kind of property you're going to get where. Not all homes are turnkey, meaning they're not all ready to move in. You may have the opportunity, as I like to put it. I'm an optimistic person, okay, folks? So to me, it's like an opportunity of you to put your own character in the home. Maybe you didn't like that countertop, then you can, you know, switch it up and change the color of the walls. And, you know, Lucia is a local expert, and she has a network. She doesn't know other realtors. She knows contractors. She can connect you with plumbers. She will have some information for you to help you with some of those things. And, you know, homes are smaller. It is Europe. Europe is smaller. I'm in the state of Texas, and Texas alone is the size of Europe. So you can imagine how small sometimes the homes can be, but they're not that little. So homes have character. That's a word that Lucia introduced to me. The homes in Portugal have character. I love that. So if you're looking for a home that speaks for itself, it's not a cookie cutter like you say in the US, not a new construction, clean lines, very modern. You want character, that it speaks to you maybe 2 centuries ago, Portugal is the place to go. Now, we are doing a lot of things, and Lucy is going to start explaining that, that facilitate a transaction with you being in the US. But not everything is electronic. A lot of the way of working in Portugal is in person and on paper, because it's part of our culture. That's how we build relationships. A lot of the times when we do business in Portugal, it's about you building a personal relationship with the other person. And that only happens if you meet in person and you write it on paper. So basically, it's a cultural thing, and that's just that. The world is different cultures. People have different cultures, and that's the beauty of the world. So Lucia referred us to a book that she had a lot of clients recommend to her, actually, and it's a really good point of view of Portugal from an American, right, Lucia?
Yes, yes. And he covers a little bit of everything in Portugal, his experience. He lived here. And I find it very interesting because it has a lot of humor, but also a lot of tenderness, the way he describes the things that are not so positive from us or that he doesn't understand. So I find it's very interesting, his view about our country and our people.
Absolutely. And you guys, it's directly to be purchased on Amazon. And no, I am not affiliated with this writer. I'm not getting paid to say this, and neither is Lucia. This is just, we thought it was funny, and I saw it was $25 for you to order it. I think it doesn't include shipping. So please just check it out and have fun reading it. But you know what? All of the things that we were saying that they are different are okay. That things are slower, the homes are older, they are not turnkey, because this is what you're getting. The reason why you are moving to Portugal, why you are here today, is because you want all of this. You want to be in a city that has access to these beautiful views, to be close to the beach, beautiful ocean. The architecture is quaint, small little streets, cobble streets, and that cities are a work of art, as this picture here, right, with the fountain in the middle of Lisbon. The streets themselves, they are works of art. You don't see streets that are so flourished in the way that they are put together like you see in Porto and Lisbon. You have public transportation, amazing food, and of course pastéis de nata. If you don't know custard pies by now, I urge you to go try them. Last time I saw, they sell them at Trader Joe's. All right, and we arrived to the most important part of this webinar. This is where I'm going to completely hand it over to Lucia. We're going to explain to you what the home buying process is in Portugal.
Okay, so here we are. We'll be talking about how we can buy a home in Portugal. We are focusing on these two methods, cash or loan. Here at Coldwell Banker City, not only we take care of all the paperwork, but we also help you in this process, whether you need a loan. We will talk about that later on. But you can buy cash, loan, and then you can also have access to Golden Visa. We'll explain also that. So is there something else, Claudia?
Not right now.
Okay, so before you buy a home in Portugal, you need to do these two things first, which is you need to obtain this NIF, which is our fiscal number here for Portugal, and you need to open a bank account. For the NIF, you can do it in the North America through a consulate, or you can do it here in Portugal through a tax office. And you need these documents that you need a proof of address, you need the proof of your employment, and a passport for your ID. The NIF, you can do it yourself, or you can delegate a representative who takes care of this NIF for you. And for the bank, it's more or less, it's the same kind of documents: proof of address, proof of employment, and passport. For the bank, you can open an account in US, for instance, or maybe in Canada. There are some Millennium and Caixa Geral Deposits. They have some branches over there, and you can start the process there to open an account, or you can open over here in Portugal. And whether you buy cash or loan, you can do that by a legal representative. So if you are in your home country, US, Canada, you want to buy, you can do it without traveling to Portugal. At the moment, I'm doing that with some clients, and it's a very simple process.
Absolutely. So as Lucy was saying, you can get your NIF for tax purposes. Is like, it's not really a social security for the Portuguese, but is what we would see here in North America. And you can have that done in a Portuguese consulate or even embassy, I believe. If you would like a list of where they are, reach out to me. But there is definitely one in Washington, D.C. and one in LA. And you can appoint a representative. So I really have to commend our colleagues in Portugal. We had a lot of buyers wanting to purchase in Portugal, but they couldn't travel. They were already starting the process, and now what? They couldn't get. So they come up with this idea of, and they have someone in their office. You could do your realtor. You could have the person in the office that is designated to handle finances and everything else. And you can give them a power of attorney. Of course, no one is signing any documents without you authorizing them. They will show you all the documentation, explain the process, but at least you have that. You can also have, just if you go with a spouse or if you're buying with a partner, that one of you, if they have Portuguese nationality, they can get in and out of Portugal. And so they can have the power of attorney and sign for you. So that's really good for you to know. And what the Portuguese consider as legal IDs, the passport, is very different here in the US. We can use driver's license because it has our address. It just seems logical to us. But for the Portuguese, is passport. So you need two different things to show address, and then your ID is the passport. And we do have other banks that offer international services, but right now the ones that we know that other clients have used is Millennium and Caixa Geral Deposits. That is a sort of credit union.
Yes, so we will start with the cash. And just to let you know that this, all that we will present here is a standard process as an example. So it can be faster sometimes or can be slower sometimes, but this is an example how the normal process can work. Okay, so this is when you buy cash, you can estimate the total time between 10 and 20 working days. For instance, when the offer is accepted and the paperwork all is ready, everything is right, and the owner doesn't have a loan, you can schedule the deed contract within 10 days. And then you can do that directly to the deed contract. In the case that if the owner of the property has a loan, then you need to add 10 more days. And this is to give notice to the bank that you will finish his loan and to issue the mortgage cancellation. So that's why between 10 and 20 days when you buy cash. Usually it's the buyer who sets the date for the deed contract. And here on the left we have this the process outline for you, as we referred before. It always starts with a meeting with a real estate agent. So here we set up and understand what you're looking for, where would you like to live, and also explain the process as we referred before, that I will do as a next step the property search. But of course, if the client finds something that fits and that he likes, he can always and should always send to the consultant so that he can check with the listing agent and have all the information for you. And then when we have a selection of properties that he likes, I schedule showings. and we can do this in person or virtually. As I referred before, we are doing both. So for clients who are not here, we have been doing virtual visits, works well. Clients are happy, and I think they can have a feeling of the property. And then if you then come here, we can always do in person and feel the area as well. We have this, we refer here certidão de teor. I think it's what's mentioned to you, Lian's search, right? Where we can see what is the financial situation of the property, who is the owner and everything. We always check all the documentation, so this is just a note, but we all check all the documentation, not only this one. And then we can, I work with you to prepare an offer for the property that you choose. And at this time, we can start working on transferring the funds to your Portuguese account. So when you're paying cash, you then need to give some days to transferring the funds to a Portuguese account. While this, we are doing the negotiations, we are, having different options or different values being discussed, and we will eventually have an accepted offer. So when that happens, it's the case that I referred before. Within maybe 8-10 days, we can schedule the deed contract, and we 1 day before, we can ask the bank to issue a cashier check that will be written on the seller's name. And on the day of the deed, everyone signs. You give the buyer gives the cashier check to the seller. You receive the keys, and the buying is completed, and you just need then to set up the utilities and decide the moving day. And this is within 10-20 days. You have after the accepted offer, you have your new home in Portugal. I don't know if would you like to add something, Claudia?
I just wanted to explain that in Portugal, we don't have a title company. So in the US, we do a lot of our transactions either with a lawyer or with a title company. And that's not really what happens in Portugal. The agents will have all the information about the property, all of the documentation, and pretty much they will have the legal paperwork, and then it's a public notary that is going to issue the deed. That's what you're signing. Pretty much the title of the home is free and clear to pass to you as the buyer. So there's no title company, there is no title insurance. It's just done by a public notary. The cashier check, as you all are aware, is a safe check, so we always recommend that you open an account when you start that initial consultation. Get all your NIF number for tax purposes done prior you start actually looking and negotiating, because if you find a property and you need to move fast, and you need to make sure you have all those things. So that's something I wanted to share with you guys.
Okay, so we're moving to the loan option. You can also buy through a loan from a Portuguese bank. And again, this is what we are showing here is an example of a normal process. So the costs are average, and in some cases it can be faster, slower, more or less expensive than these examples. Just to have a reference here that what we have here is a normal process, but it can, in your real life, can also be a little different. This is a guidance, and so when you apply for a loan, you need to give the bank a set of documents to start this process, which is you need to give them your passport as an ID. And then information about your employment. And this is the last, most recent salary slips, and also your professional relationship. So what kind of contract do you have with the company? They need to understand that. And also the bank statements for the 3 last months. and your last tax return. So with this, they start to assess your situation, and this is opening the process for the loan. Here, it's also mandatory that you have included in your loan life insurance, and this you have to do it through the bank that is giving you the loan. So if you have another life insurance in your country, it will not work for this. You will need to have this life insurance included in your loan, and just for you to have that in mind, that is apart from the loan. And it is also necessary to have a multi-risk insurance for the property. This is also mandatory, but this one you can do it through this the bank, the insurance company of the bank, or you can do it through a different insurance company. Doesn't need to be the same. We found that, for instance, the thing we were referring of the life insurance, there is one exception. There is in Novo Banco, they exempt clients who are 65 years old or older. They don't need to have this life insurance. So it's not the standard, but just to mention that is this possibility in this case with this bank. In terms of the process, the total cost we have here as an average is 725. We will at the end give you an idea of general costs of everything, and this will include the whole process for the loan, which is opening the loan process, giving the documentation that I referred before, and then they will do the assessment. They will assess your financial situation, doing the appraisal for the property that you choose, doing the executive this you don't need to do through the bank, and then having the appraisal issue presentation letter for the loan. And this, after having this, we need to give by law 7 calendar days for client or customer reflection, where they need to have this time period to think about if they want to move forward with the loan or not. But when you have this deadline, we can already start thinking of scheduling the deed contract, and you can do it after 8 days. So we need to give these 7 days, but on the 8th day, you can already schedule the deed contract. Here also at Coldwell Banker City, we have this service that we provide to our clients, which is helping to get the loan. And we can either, if you have already a Portuguese bank account and you have an account manager that you work with the Portuguese bank, we have a process manager who deals with all the loans, and he can contact directly your account manager and work with him to find the best possibility for your loan or the best offer. Or if you don't have that yet, you can do a consultation on the market and see with your financial situation, you can find what is the bank that offers you the best loan option. And this is done internally through our process manager and at no additional costs to the buying clients. So a service, I think it's very interesting and helpful for a client who wants a loan to simplify also his life.
And I think highly confidential, right? I mean, whenever you have this person working with you, although Lucia is your agent, this person has a non-disclosure confidential agreement with you that he cannot disclose any of your financial information to anyone unless if you instruct them to.
Yes, usually as I mentioned, the documentation that you have to send to the bank, you will send to this process manager directly, and I don't have that information. So that part you work directly with each other, and it's confidential. I don't have information about that.
Absolutely.
So here we have the step-by-step process of how it works doing a loan from a Portuguese bank. We have already done said some of the steps before. So meeting with the real estate consultant is the first step. Opening this loan process with the bank, so giving the documentation, and doing the property search, so finding options for you to visit, and when we have a selection, scheduling the visits, again, in person or virtually, and then when you find the property that you would like to buy, working with you for establishing an offer, also helping you with the negotiation and having an accepted offer. When that happens, the bank usually does the visit for the appraisal, and here you can wait for this result or not. But usually this is the standard process. You do the appraisal and then you do the sales contract. This sales contract is the contract that we call the CPCV, and is where the seller promises to sell and the buyer promises to buy. And usually the buyer has to give then a payment of 10%. In some cases you may need to give more, but the standard will be the 10%. And then you will get from the bank the loan acceptance, so underwriter decision. We then have to wait those 7 days for customer reflection, but then we can already prepare and schedule the deed contracts, and also ask for the cashier check, and then have the contract signed and everything is done. Also important here is when this is done through a loan, through a bank, the bank is in charge now for following all the preparation for the deed, and is also another element, another entity checking again all the documentation, everything is in place. So you also have that work from the bank, because they will be in charge then for the preparation for the deed contract. So it's something also that gives you even more safety on the process. You have this another entity working for you. Here again, also the buyer usually sets the date for the deed registration. And for this loan process, you should consider in terms of time that it will take between 30 to 45 working days. Again, just an average number of time, but it's the standard we should consider for the loan process. Yes. I don't know if you have something to add to.
Well, I would like to just share with everybody, given that I do sell a lot of homes here in the US, and I know what the North American client is accustomed to. There is a few differences here. If you are based in the US and you are wondering, we have not addressed inspections in case you missed it. The reason being is that that's not usually done in Portugal, but it is possible. It's not going to be affecting the loan in any shape or form. And Lucia has a few companies that now, thanks to North American clients, exist in Portugal. They did not exist before. We had architects that could do a structural engineer report, but not really an inspection of the home. We also don't have seller's disclosure. If you have purchased homes in the US, you probably have gone through a seller's disclosure that tells you what the age of the roof is, the age of the AC, the age of the plumbing, everything else that doesn't exist really in Portugal, but there is a condition form, and there is also the certidão de teor that we explained in the beginning. I don't expect you to memorize that name. Basically, it's a lien search. And Lucia and Coldwell Banker in Portugal, there are one of the few companies I know that do it in the beginning of the transaction. One more reason to really partner up with a professional, a qualified professional, knowledgeable and renowned company in Portugal. The other thing I wanted to talk about is setting up utilities. Let's just assume that you are purchasing the property and you decided to do it through assigning a power of attorney, and you're dealing with that person in Portugal. That person will be able to do that for you as well. Of course, the power of attorney will also specify that they can go to the bank and you have authorized the bank the amount that needs to be on that cashier check or the secure check. And then when it comes to the sales contract and earnest money, is a little bit different. So earnest money here, you give that earnest money means a promise that you want to, you're moving forward, you're doing everything you can to get the loan and get that home. We can call it that as well, but here it never comes back. Once you give it to the seller and you walk out of the deal, you're not getting that money back. Am I correct, Lucia?
Yes.
So we just really need you to be sure that when you start the loan process, be as forward as possible, help the bank institution understand what your financial situation is. If you can have money in that bank account, it would be great. Remember that buying a home in Portugal is a fairly easy process when you are working with a professional that knows what they're doing. And also the bank institution lends money to anyone, if they're not Portuguese residents or nationals, up to 75%. So you always have to have that remaining 25% in the bank for you to show that you have that money plus the income and everything else. So we will do our part, we will help you with everything, but we also need you to help us by being proactive in doing all of those things, and also being aware that there are some things that are really truly different, and you do need to give that sales contract. That is where you sign the promise of purchase with the seller, and that 10% or more depending on the value of the property. But you have that option period to walk away if you want from the loan, but you would be losing that money. So please be aware that you need to be very certain that that's something you really want to do, and have that person in Coldwell Banker with a financial part to really get you the best loan deal, so there's no surprises later on. And the last thing I wanted to mention is that if you need a management company, either to set up utilities or manage the property, Lucy also has some good management companies now available in Portugal that she can connect you with.
Just one more thing, as you refer that the buyer can lose the money that they give. This contract serves to protect both sides, so the buyer and the seller. The buyer can lose that money if he doesn't deliver his part, if he doesn't buy. But the seller can also lose, and he can also has to return the 10%, maybe in double, if he also doesn't deliver his part. So if he doesn't fulfill the conditions. So this is also, the buyer is not only to have risks here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Good points. Thank you for that, Lucia. So
as we mentioned before, you can also apply for a golden visa. This, if you fulfill certain criteria, you can apply for the golden visa. Here we will just refer the standard values of investment. So if you invest 350,000 or 550,000, you can open then a separate process to get your golden visa. Here at Coldwell Banker City, we also work with lawyers, a team of lawyers who just do that for you. Because it's a separate process, and it starts with, in this case, buying a property, whether on the coast, and then you have to apply the 500,000 investment, or a lower investment. The lower investment is usually outside the big cities, not the coastline, and it usually applies for properties age 30 or more, and it also includes the value of the renovations that you are going to invest to update or remodel the property. Through the 500,000, it can be both old or new, and you can even buy not only one property with this value, but maybe two, and have one for you and one for investment, but at least it's something more flexible that you can have two properties instead of just buying one for this value. We are having some changes next year regarding this 500,000 golden visa option. That will be, at the moment, this is what we have. It will be cancelled, that option. So in case you would like to do that kind of investment, you need to make sure that this year you sign that contract that we referred before, what we call the CPCV, and in English you have a different name. So the sales contract, but with that you can already open the process for the golden visa, and then the deed you can do on the next year. So it's not a problem that you only sign the final contract on the next year. If you have already the CPCV signed this year, that is mandatory.
Fantastic. Really good information. You guys, if you want to, we did not want to spend a lot of time on Golden Visa. A lot of you that are here today actually came from that webinar. So if you were not in that webinar, reach out. I can send you the replay. I have another specialist in Portugal, but as well a lawyer that talks through the whole process.
Okay, so costs to consider. We have here two columns, like we talked before, the cash buyer and the loan. I'll go through the cash buyer. So the first cost you should consider is the notary fees, the one where you will do the deed contract, so around 500 US dollars in this case. And then the taxes. We have one taxes, which is the property transfer tax, that can go from 2% to 8%. This is depending on the cost of the property. I can tell you just as a reference that if you buy between 287 until 574,000, it's 8%. But then above that amount till 1 million, it's 6%. So just to give you an idea, as we've referred around these amounts before, this is the tax you should consider. Then there is the stamp duty, which is from the sale price. You should consider also 0.8%. And then when you have the property on your name, yearly, you have to pay the municipal tax on real estate. That goes between 0.3% to 0.5%. There is one option that you can be exempted to pay this for 3 years. And we have the information there, what is the criteria, but it's also only 3 years. And then when you consider loan, you should add to these costs, the opening the loan process, as we referred before, which is around the 725 US dollars. For the notary fees, we have a higher amount, so between 900 and 1,000 something, a little bit more. And as we mentioned before as well, the life insurance, which is mandatory unless you consider that only you are in that age group and you consider that only bank that exempts you for that. And also the building insurance. Here I have an example. So 170 US dollars per year for around 1,000 square feet condominium, just to have an idea of how much it would cost. Of course, then we can go through this in detail with you for your specific case, but this gives you already first approach of costs when buying a property here in Portugal. Yeah, I think it's
very helpful. I think it's very helpful for everyone to have a little bit of understanding. Everyone, this is it. So if you are buying a home in Portugal, request a complimentary consultation. I will be sending you a follow-up email that will have a link for that consultation schedule, and it will have these presentation slides as well for your reference. If you have any questions that you would like us to answer right now, the Q&A is open and we can definitely answer any questions you may have. If not, feel free to always send us any questions later on. Again, Lucia, thank you so much for all of this information today.
Thank you as well. I'll be happy to help clients from North America.